There are only two paths. Or you are crescendo or is falling behind. Even when it seems like nothing changes, that the world keeps moving. People change, life moves on, and whether you like it or not, you do too, carried by this current. The question is, where do you want to go? If you've made it this far, you might be tired of repeating the same mistakes, to hear empty promises, beautiful phrases without action, and shallow content that only serve to distract you from what really matters. But this video is different. Here I'll show you 12 Stoic phrases, strong, true, and full of wisdom, that serve not only to think beautifully, but to live more consciously. No matter where you are now, at the top or at the bottom, starting or starting over, what really counts is that today you decide to change course. From now on, you start to choose clearly, act with purpose, respect yourself firmly, and above all, strengthen your mind until nothing can shake it. As I said, Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This is your first step. So, write in the comments, today I move forward with the strength of a Stoic. Because when he writes, you states, and when states, you starts to move. Now let's move on to the first lesson. Quote 1. Stop talking about what a good person should be and be one. Marcus Aurelius. These days, everyone thinks they know how others should act. What's right, what's wrong, what's mature, and what's not. But the most important question isn't what you think about all this, but how much you actually live what you say. Marcus Aurelius gives us a reality check. Enough of the pretty speeches, enough of trying to teach others while ignoring your own way of acting. If you want to become a better person, start with yourself. No audience, no need to show off, no expectation of applause. Just be. Because it's not what you say that inspires, it's what you do, especially when no one is watching. Many people talk about kindness, but mistreat those who have nothing to offer. They talk about empathy, but judge without understanding. They talk about justice, but turn a blind eye when action is needed. Stoicism teaches the opposite, to move beyond theory and put everything into practice with genuine actions. Being a good person isn't about being perfect, but about being consistent. It's about making mistakes and admitting them. It's about listening attentively. It's doing the right thing, even when it's easier to pretend you didn't see it. It's keeping your word even when no one is holding you accountable. This strength only appears when you build something within yourself that the world cannot give. A strength that arises from self-mastery, clarity of values, and the will to act with integrity, even when impulse demands otherwise. The Stoic doesn't try to suppress his emotions. He observes them. He doesn't run away from them. He learns to live with them without letting them dictate his actions. In this process, he becomes more flexible, more resilient, and more steadfast, because true strength lies not in reacting in the heat of the moment, but in responding calmly and consciously. Those who cultivate this inner clarity begin to choose better, speak less, and act more. They become trustworthy, someone others can truly trust. Life begins to respect those who live according to their beliefs. And more important than being admired by others is being able to look in the mirror and feel respect for themselves, because those who live truthfully find peace, and those who live in peace change the world, even without having to say a word. Quote 2. He who masters silence masters chaos. Seneca. The modern world fears silence. There's always a background sound, a notification, a conversation, some noise trying to fill the space the mind no longer knows how to inhabit. We're surrounded by stimuli, yet we feel emptier than ever. Seneca knew that silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of self. It's the space where the soul reorganizes itself and the mind purifies itself. Mastering silence is the art of not getting lost in the noise of the world, nor in the inner din of one's own thoughts. Chaos begins when you lose touch with this silent center, when your mind is agitated by every piece of news, every criticism, every comparison. You start the day with a full head and end it with a tired heart, even without having accomplished anything essential. And all this happens because we react to the noise without realizing that noise only has power over those who listen to it too much. The wise man, on the contrary, responds with silence, not out of cowardice, but out of dominance. He understands that not every provocation deserves a response, not every conflict deserves a presence. Seneca said that tranquility of mind is the greatest of human gifts, but this tranquility is not found in distant retreats, but rather built within. Silence is an exercise. It's when you decide to observe before reacting, think before speaking, and understand before judging. Each time you choose silence over impulse, you gain a piece of your own inner mastery. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's the gap between attack and response, between error and wisdom. It's in this space that you have the chance to choose clearly, rather than react desperately. Those who live in constant noise lose the ability to discern what's important from what's merely urgent. But those who learn to pause, who get used to breathing before acting, begin to see what others don't. Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens that disturbs you, but the judgment you make about what happens." And that's exactly what silence corrects. It teaches you to observe your judgment before it becomes a reaction. It interrupts the automatic cycle of emotion and returns reason to control. When you silence yourself internally, chaos loses its power. Think of the great leaders, philosophers, and warriors of history. None of them made decisions in the heat of the moment. They all learned to listen to the silence before acting, because it is in silence that the mind rebalances itself, and it is from balance that right actions are born. Haste screams, fear screams, pride screams, but wisdom speaks softly. And only those who have learned to be silent can hear it. The world tries to convince you that speaking more means having power. But true power is choosing when not to speak. It's not explaining yourself to those who don't want to understand. It's not engaging in battles that don't deserve your energy. It's maintaining your composure when the environment demands a reaction. It's letting others get lost in their own noise while you remain serene. Silence isn't an escape, it's strength. It's the invisible shield of those who have learned to live in peace within themselves. Seneca lived amidst Roman politics, one of the most chaotic and treacherous environments of his time. Yet he spoke of serenity as if he had already achieved it. He knew that those who master silence also master their own destiny, because destiny in practice is made of decisions, and decisions made in noise are almost always wrong. Silence, on the other hand, is the field where reason flourishes. But the silence Seneca advocated isn't just external, it's inner silence, the one you cultivate even when the world is screaming. It's the silence that observes anger without letting it take over, that feels pain without turning it into despair, that sees provocation without falling into the trap of immediate response. Mastering this silence is the highest form of freedom because it means nothing external can pull you from your center. There comes a moment in every journey of maturity when you realize that the external noise is merely a reflection of the internal noise, and that the world only quiets down when you do. It is at that moment that silence ceases to be absence and becomes presence. It becomes your fortress, your refuge, and your most powerful weapon. Mastering silence is the art of self-mastery. It's knowing how to wait for the right time, speak only when necessary, and act purposefully. It's realizing that noise is merely a distraction, and that true strength is measured by the peace you can maintain, even when everything tries to take it away. So when everything seems confusing, when the voices of fear and haste try to drag you away, do what Seneca would do. Breathe, observe the way. Because silence is the field where the mind reorganizes itself, and whoever masters silence inevitably masters chaos. Quote 3. Adopt role differentiation. Epictetus. Much of the emotional confusion is born because we try live many roles at the same time, even when these roles contradict each other. We want the benefits on one side, but without giving up the advantages of the other, and that puts us in conflict with reality. It's like someone who wants a true relationship, but still act like you're single, or who dreams of have your own business, but wants the calm routine of an employee. He wants children, but complains about responsibility. He wants peace, but keeps the fights going who steal it. Epictetus reminds us that in order to live with clarity and balance, first we need understand the roles we choose and then respect them. When you consciously assumes his role, whether as a parent, friend, partner, or professional, begins to act in a way aligned with what you decided to live. If you don't do that, you end up divided, with half of yourself in each place, and never gives himself completely to anything. Their Stoicism invites us to return to center, stop trying to embrace everything at once, and to accept with courage what life demands now. That's it, emotional growth. It is to choose act responsibly, even when the impulse is to flee. Even more, it is realizing that, among all the roles we have, there is one that is only ours, the one of being who we really are. We can't help, inspire and taking care of others, but we can't control them. What is in our hands is the way we react, even when someone hurts or disappoints us. Sometimes it will be necessary being close to a difficult family member. Keep calm in a conversation that provokes or respect a friend's space without thinking it's your fault. Each of these situations is a training, and the stoicism and the daily exercise that makes us stronger in the face of them. Living aware of your roles is not to erase but stop running away. When you do, you know who it is, and what is your purpose, your attitude changes. Even in the midst of the world's confusion, you continue centered and firm. As he taught Seneca, the wise are sufficient in themselves, but still choose to have friends and companions not out of necessity, but because they know that good relationships expand good that already exists within them. And that's the key point. When you strengthens from within, begins to act with more presence, truth, and coherence in everything he does. Because he is whole, why knows the role he chose to play, and within it lives with honor, lucidity, and integrity. Quote 4. Haste seeks results, wisdom seeks direction. Marcus Aurelius. We live in an age where everything demands speed. Success must be immediate, responses must be instantaneous, and patience seems like a luxury for those who have fallen behind. But Marcus Aurelius warned almost 2,000 years ago, haste is the enemy of clarity, and those who live chasing results lose sight of the path. The hurried mind seeks the end, the wise mind seeks purpose. The difference is subtle, but it completely transforms the way we live. Haste is the offspring of fear of failing, of being forgotten, of being late. So you run in every direction, trying to prove your worth, trying to get there first. But the problem is, the more you run, the further you distance yourself from yourself. Haste turns life into a battlefield where every moment is a race and every mistake a threat. And in this attempt to control time, time is precisely what is lost. Wisdom, on the other hand, is unhurried, but it's not slow either. It's precise. It understands that walking too fast leads to stumbling, but walking too slowly leads to stagnation. Wisdom moves at the pace of consciousness. It observes, understands, acts, and then trusts. It's the steady movement of someone who doesn't need to rush, because they know where they're going. Marcus Aurelius said that he who lives according to reason walks in harmony with the universe. This means that true direction comes not from the anxiety of arriving, but from the lucidity of understanding the path. Look around you. How many people do you know who are always busy but never fulfilled? They're always doing too much, but they don't know why. It's the symptom of a life without direction, too much action, too little reflection. Haste creates confusion, and confusion creates burnout. The wise, on the other hand, do less but do better. They don't react, they choose. And each choice is made with purpose because they understand that haste is a disguised form of desperation. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere. Haste distracts you, wisdom centers you. When you live in a hurry, you seek results that can validate you, but when you live wisely, you seek coherence. You want your actions to represent your values, not just your desires. And this difference changes everything. One lives seeking approval, the other lives seeking meaning. Direction comes when you learn to slow down enough to listen to yourself. Haste makes you deaf. Calmness makes you attentive." How many times have you made a bad decision because you didn't wait for the right moment? How many times have you talked too much, bought what you didn't need, insisted when it was time to let go? A hurried mind is like turbulent water. It reflects everything distorted. But when the water calms, the reflection returns clearly. Stoicism teaches us that it is better to take one right step with serenity than 10 blind steps in despair. Haste seeks the result now, but the result now is rarely the best result. Everything that grows solidly takes time. Wisdom knows how to wait, not because it is passive, but because it trusts the process. The fool forces the fruit to ripen. The wise merely protect it until time makes it ready. And here's the most important point. Haste is reaction. Direction is choice. Reaction comes from instinct. Choice comes from awareness. When you rush, you're driven by impulses, by fear of loss, by comparison, by anxiety. When you choose calmly, you're guiding your own life with presence, clarity, and purpose. Wisdom is the opposite of modern rushing. It is the art of walking steadily without having to rush, of acting at the right time, without the illusion that everything must happen today. The wise understand that time is an ally, not an enemy. They know that those who sow consciously reap abundantly, even if it takes longer. So before you act, ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to grow or because I'm afraid of falling behind? This simple question is the filter between haste and direction, because those who act out of fear wear themselves out. Those who act with purpose grow stronger. Life, in the end, rewards not those who run fastest, but those who remain wholeheartedly on the path. Haste creates anxiety. Direction creates peace. And it is in peace, not in haste, that great transformations occur. Therefore, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. Wisdom does not run because it is already on its way. Quote 5. No noise reaches you, and no word takes you from your center. Seneca. This is the kind of inner peace everyone wants to feel, but few have the patience to build. That's because it doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. It's something you cultivate little by little, like planting and tending a garden. Seneca describes this state as that of a steadfast mind, a mind that has learned not to react to any provocation, that isn't shaken by the noise of others, and that doesn't depend on the moods of others to maintain peace. It's a mind that knows how to stay centered, even when everything around seems to be turning into a storm. But reaching this point isn't luck, it's practice. It's learning to stop when necessary, to slow down your thoughts, to turn off your cell phone, to silence the rush, and to listen to your own silence. True self-mastery doesn't come from strength, but from presence. It comes from the conscious decision not to be carried away by everything that tries to throw you off balance. Seneca doesn't talk about withdrawing from the world, but about living aligned with what truly matters: your principles, your ideals, your desire to live with more clarity and less confusion. And this requires constancy. It requires small pauses every day. It could be a peaceful walk, a deep breath, or writing something at the end of the day. The important thing is to have rituals that bring you back to your center, so that the chaos outside doesn't drag you away from yourself. The Stoic mind is a mind that chooses. It chooses what to think about, what to feed, and what to let go. It doesn't get lost in distractions because it understands that focus is too valuable to be wasted on small things. Marcus Aurelius said, "I force my mind to concentrate and not let it escape to what is external." This is what we all need to train, to teach the mind to stay in the present, to not chase every stray thought, to not waste itself trying to control what cannot be controlled. If there's one skill that can transform your life, it's this: focusing on what's in your hands and letting go of the rest. The peace you seek doesn't come when everything goes quiet, but when you become strong enough not to let the noise tear you from your own silence. Quote 6. Freedom begins when you stop trying to control what doesn't depend on you. Epictetus. Epictetus lived as a slave, but he was one of the freest men who ever lived. He understood early on something that most people take a lifetime to discover. Control is an illusion. We spend years trying to control what is outside of us: circumstances, people, fate. And in this effort, we lose the very thing we can truly control: ourselves. That's why he said that freedom begins the moment you let go of what you can't control. Because as you try to control the uncontrollable, you become a slave to your own anxiety. Controlling everything is the greatest vice of modern human beings. We want others to understand us, for time to cooperate, for things to happen the way we imagine. and when they don't, we react with anger, frustration, and fear, as if the universe were obligated to follow our script. But life doesn't bend to individual will, it follows its own order. Wisdom lies in understanding this difference. While the ego demands guarantees, the soul simply trusts. Epictetus taught that the distinction between what depends on us and what doesn't is the basis of tranquility. And this boundary is clear. Your effort, your stance, and how you decide to react are all up to you. The outcome, the timing of things, or the reactions of others are not up to you. Suffering arises when we confuse these spheres, when we place our peace in what we cannot control. It's like trying to hold the wind in your hands. The more force you exert, the more it escapes. Stoic freedom isn't physical, it's mental. It doesn't arise when the world obeys you, but when you stop demanding it do so. It's when you understand that life owes you nothing, but offers you everything: learning, opportunity, the present moment. It's at that moment that the weight falls from your shoulders, because the need to control is, at its core, fear. Fear of the unpredictable, fear of loss, fear of surrendering to the unknown. When you trust, fear loses its power. Seneca said, "Whoever complains about fate is like someone who complains about the wind, useless and tiring." Maturity begins when you realize that fate is not an enemy, but a master. It doesn't come to punish you, but to teach you to dance to the rhythm of life. Dance isn't passivity, it's adaptation. It's acting firmly on what depends on you and accepting with serenity what doesn't. This is the harmony the Stoic seeks. Think about how many times you've lost yourself trying to control someone. The expectation of changing someone is one of the soul's most subtle prisons. You try to shape the way people act, think, or feel, but you only end up wearing yourself down. The other person has a time frame that isn't yours, a history you haven't lived, a path you're not meant to lead. And when you insist on controlling this, the result is always the same: frustration. But when you let go, something new emerges: respect, lightness, and sometimes even true love. The same goes for results. You can act with excellence, plan and prepare, but you can't guarantee the outcome. Life has invisible variables, none of which are subject to human control. That's why Epictetus taught, desire things to happen not as you want them to, but as they ought to happen. This isn't resignation, it's wisdom. It's the courage to align your will with reality rather than living at war with it. Controlling less isn't giving up, it's choosing your battles. It's understanding that there's strength in acting, but there's also strength in letting go. The wise sailor adjusts the sails, he doesn't fight the wind, and that's how the mind of the wise should be: flexible, observant, aware of its limits. When you learn to trust the flow, fear of the future disappears, because uncertainty isn't a threat, it's the ground where freedom flourishes. True freedom is internal. It arises when you understand that nothing can take away your peace without your consent. The world can contradict you, but it cannot dominate you. It can insult you, but it cannot shake you, unless you allow it. It can take away your possessions, status, and opportunities, but never your ability to decide how to react. This power is inviolable, and it is within it that human dignity resides. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept what fate gives you, for it was woven into you." This acceptance is not surrender, it is emotional intelligence. It is realizing that control over the world is small, but control over oneself is infinite. It is this awareness that separates the slave from the wise. The former constantly tries to shape the exterior and gets lost in chaos. The latter shapes the interior and finds serenity. When you stop trying to control what's beyond your control, the world ceases to be a threat. Life, once tense and unpredictable, becomes a learning ground. You realize that everything that happens, good or bad, is there to improve you, and chaos, once feared, becomes just movement. So the next time something gets out of your control, an answer that didn't come, a plan that failed, a door that closed, remember the words of Epictetus. Freedom begins when you let go of what doesn't depend on you. Letting go isn't losing, it's liberating yourself. Because those who try to control the world become its slaves, but those who surrender to the natural order of life ultimately learn to be free. Quote 7. True power is remaining calm when everything around you screams for reaction. Seneca. We live in an age of triggers. Everything seems to demand an immediate response, a sly comment, an absurd piece of news, a subtle provocation. The world revolves around rapid reactions, impulses, and uncontrolled emotions. But Seneca, almost 2,000 years ago, warned, power lies not in reacting, but in choosing when and if to react. Because those who react to everything are controlled by everything. Those who learn to remain calm amidst chaos truly master their own destiny. Anger, fear, and anxiety are forces that try to pull you out of yourself. And if you're not careful, you'll be dragged along by them like a rudderless boat in a rough sea. But the trained mind, the Stoic mind, learns to anchor itself in calm. Calm is not the absence of emotion, it is the presence of awareness. It is the ability to observe the fire without getting burned, to hear the noise without becoming confused, to feel fear without giving into it. This serenity is the true power that Seneca called self-mastery. Being calm in times of peace is easy. The challenge is remaining whole when everything around you crumbles, when words hurt, when injustices arise, when the unexpected tears the ground from under your feet. It is in these moments that the soul is tested. The world wants to see you react, wants you to lose yourself in the same fury that dominates others. But those who master their own reaction conquer themselves, and that is the noblest victory there is. Seneca said that anger is a passing madness. It makes you lose your mind, say things you didn't mean, hurt those who don't deserve it, and regret it when it's too late. And yet, it's in the small, everyday provocations that this madness appears most often, in traffic, on social media, in trivial arguments. Most people live with their minds on edge, ready to explode at the slightest spark. But the wise choose another path. They transform impulse into pause, and pause into power. Remaining calm is an act of courage. Because silence in the face of provocation is not weakness, it is contained strength. It is the mastery of the warrior who knows when not to fight. He who responds to everything is a slave to circumstances. He who chooses the right moment is master of himself. The Stoic understands that emotional control is the highest form of power because it governs the most difficult territory, one's own heart. Think about how many times you've reacted impulsively and regretted it. How many pointless arguments have become walls because you wanted to be right instead of peace? How many learning opportunities have been lost because pride got the better of you? Stoic wisdom teaches that it's better to lose an argument than to lose your temper, because calm is what maintains your clarity, your dignity, and your freedom. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens that disturbs, but the judgment we make about it." This means that power lies not in the fact, but in the interpretation. What hurts you is not the offense itself, but the meaning you give it. When you learn to observe the event before reacting, something magical happens. The problem diminishes, the ego dissolves, and the heart returns to balance. Inner silence becomes louder than the external noise. Being calm is a daily exercise. It's taking a deep breath before responding. It's observing the impulse and letting it pass like a cloud. It's remembering that nothing born of anger is born of wisdom. It's choosing serenity not out of weakness, but because you understand that reacting is easy. Remaining at peace is difficult. Seneca said that no wind is favorable to those who do not know where they are going, and the same is true of emotions. Those who do not control their reactions are lost in any storm. Calmness is a form of intelligence. It protects the mind from manipulation, maintains focus, and keeps the body healthy. Every time you choose not to react, you prove to yourself that you are in control. Anger wants to push you off balance, but you remain steadfast. Fear wants to paralyze you, but you breathe and take a step. Provocation wants to drag you down, but you refuse to stoop to its level. This is inner strength, and there is nothing more powerful than it. History is full of examples of men and women who lost everything in a moment of loss of control. and of others who changed the course of their lives by maintaining composure when everyone else lost theirs. The general who wins without fighting, the leader who calms a crowd with a few words, the father who chooses dialogue over shouting, the friend who listens instead of judging. They all demonstrate the same virtue, the calm that governs chaos. Seneca lived surrounded by intrigue, persecution, and threats, yet he wrote about tranquility with the precision of someone who practiced it every day. He knew that calm is not a gift. It is a practice of patience, humility, and presence. It is choosing to breathe before reacting, to think before speaking, and to act consciously rather than impulsively. This discipline is what separates those who live in peace from those who live in constant war with everything and everyone. Remaining calm when everything screams for a reaction is the highest form of power because it's power over yourself. It's the mastery of the mind that doesn't bend to the noise of the world. It's the state in which nothing external can destabilize you because you've already learned to remain whole within yourself. And when you reach this point, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Your serenity speaks for you. So the next time the world tries to knock you off center, remember Seneca's words. True power is remaining calm when everything around you screams for reaction. Don't react. Respond consciously. Don't scream. Breathe. Don't fight chaos. Master it with the serenity of someone who has learned that peace is the strongest weapon there is. Quote 8. Everywhere, at every moment, you have the choice. Accept this event with humility. Treat this individual as they should be treated. Approach this thought with care, so that nothing irrational can sneak in. Marcus Aurelius. Life doesn't give you control over everything, but it does offer you choices. In any situation, no matter how difficult it may seem, there's always a small space where you can decide. That's where freedom resides, the chance to choose how to react. And this small, almost invisible moment is what defines the quality of your life. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that this choice is always present in every second. You can accept what happens calmly and humbly, or resist until you're exhausted. You can treat someone fairly or act impulsively and create even more conflict. You can observe a thought and let it pass, or let it dominate you as if it were an absolute truth. These choices seem small, but they shape who you become. Stoicism isn't a distant idea. It's practical, it's a daily attitude. It's something silent. It's in how you speak to the doorman, to a difficult relative, to a friend who irritates you. It's in how you react when you make a mistake or when someone treats you badly. Living like a Stoic means living with intention. It's about stopping being driven by automatic emotions and starting to pay attention to yourself before acting. It's not about erasing what you feel. It's about not letting your reaction be worse than the problem itself. And this requires practice, repetition. That's why the Stoics spoke of 3 important disciplines. The discipline of desire, which teaches us to accept what life brings. The discipline of action, which guides us to act justly even when others don't. And the discipline of consent, which helps us question our thoughts before accepting them as truth. These practices work like a mental gym. The more you train, the stronger and more prepared you become to handle life's ups and downs without losing your peace. Cleanthes said, "Fate leads those who accept and drags those who resist." In other words, when you accept reality wisely, you go with the flow. When you fight it, you only hurt yourself. Being Stoic isn't about being cold. It's about being mindful. It's about understanding that each moment silently invites you to act with greater calm, clarity, and mastery. And when you begin to respond wisely to what happens, everything changes. Not because the world outside has changed, but because you have learned to look at it in a new way. And if you're enjoying the content, consider becoming a member of the channel. In addition to helping the channel, you also get exclusive content. Click on the link in the description and become a member right now. Back to the content. Quote 9. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Seneca. It's easy to look at someone who has managed to win and think, you were lucky. It's really hard to see how long did this person prepare in silence, how many times she insisted without guarantee of success. And how many falls did you face before getting up again when nobody saw? Seneca teaches that luck is just the name we give when effort meets the right moment. And most of the time, this moment does not come the way we imagine. Life doesn't warn you when opportunity is knocking on the door. She often comes disguised as a crisis, rejection, or unexpected change. And that's where the difference shows. Those who are prepared see a new beginning, and those who are not only see the end. If you wait for the perfect scenario to act, you will get stuck in desire and never get to action. Stoicism teaches the opposite of this. Do the best you can with what you have, in the time you have, in the way you can, because top reparation starts now, not when everything seems easy. And that means accept what life brings instead of fighting the inevitable. The concept of amor fati, which Nietzsche would later explain, but which the Stoics already lived, means love one's own destiny. It is not fighting against what happens, but use each situation as material to grow. Accept the gift is not being passive, is be wise. It is to understand that wanting things to be different doesn't change anything, but acting courageously in the face of what is changes everything. Think of a player who trains every day, even without knowing when he will be called to the game. He doesn't only train when he has a match scheduled. He trains because he knows that when the moment comes, there will be no time to prepare. He needs to be ready already. In life, it's the same thing. You can't just prepare when the opportunity arises. It is necessary to live in a state of preparation. This includes control your desires, align your decisions with your values, and act with purpose, even on simple days. Because who is always ready never gets carried away by the tide, who prepares finds meaning even in losses, and who accepts reality with courage turns any situation into teaching, and all teaching in growth. Quote 10. The invulnerable is not something that is never hit, but something that is never injured. From this I will show you the wise person. Seneca. Be strong doesn't mean never be shaken, but rather not be destroyed by what affects you. The pain, the criticism, the unexpected, and the losses are part of the walk. Thinking you can live without going through any of this is the same as escape from the truth of life. Seneca teaches us that true strength is not in avoiding blows, but in learn to receive them without breaking down inside. Everyone goes through difficult days, but what differentiates a wise person from others is how she deals with these days. When a badly said word takes you off center, or a small problem makes you lose control, the problem it is not in the event itself, but in how much power do you still give him. For the Stoics, being invulnerable is have emotional stability, is create a point of balance within yourself that does not depend on what happens around, that it is not achieved overnight. It is a continuous exercise, a process of strengthen the mind and heart. It all starts with a decision. Stop hurting yourself with what doesn't deserve to hurt you. Negativity only reaches you when it finds space, when you are far from yourself, if you think weak, small, or needs external approval. In these moments, anything looks like an attack. But when you are whole, what comes from outside doesn't bring you down. At most, it teaches you. It's like the bamboo, which bends with the wind, but does not break, because it is flexible and firm at the same time. The Stoic mind is like this, knows how to give in when necessary, but never loses its essence. If you want true peace, you need to take care of the source, not only prune the branches of emotion. This means cultivate resilience, practice inner silence, and remember every day that not everything deserves a reaction. Some things ask for an answer, others only deserve your silence. Wisdom does not make you immune to pain, but it gives you more clarity, so as not to become a slave to it. Because in the end, it's not the fact that hurts and the meaning you give to it. Seneca does not invite you to be cold, he invites you to be free. Quote 11. No fate is cruel to those who make adversity a lesson. Marcus Aurelius. Some people look at life and see a burden, others look at the same path and see a training ground. The difference lies not in the destination, but in the perspective. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, lived through wars, plagues, and betrayals, and yet he wrote about serenity. He learned that suffering, when understood, transforms into wisdom. that obstacles, when accepted with courage, become the path itself. That destiny, however harsh it may seem, is never cruel to those who choose to learn from it. Most people view pain as an injustice. They ask, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But the Stoic reverses the question. What did this situation teach me? How can I grow from this? This shift in attitude is what transforms suffering into strength, because pain doesn't come to destroy, it comes to refine. The difference between those who crumble and those who evolve is how they respond to what they cannot avoid. Marcus Aurelius said, "What blocks the path becomes the path." And this phrase sums up the heart of Stoicism. Adversity is inevitable. It visits everyone sooner or later. But what you do with it is your choice. You can give in to rebellion, feel victimized, wait for the world to compensate you. Or you can breathe, observe, and transform the blow into discipline, the loss into learning, the mistake into clarity. This is the secret of those who win silently. They don't ask for an easy life. They ask for the strength to face life as it is. Fate is not cruel. It is neutral. It merely presents the lessons the soul needs to learn to mature. What seems like punishment today, tomorrow reveals itself as preparation. What tires you today, tomorrow strengthens you. But only those who stop resisting and begin to accept see this. Accepting doesn't mean conforming, but understanding. Understanding that every pain has a reason, every delay has a purpose, and every loss carries within it the seed of something new. Epictetus said that suffering increases when you fight the inevitable. Resistance creates friction, and friction is what hurts. Acceptance, on the other hand, brings lightness, not because it eliminates pain, but because it makes it bearable. It's like rowing against the current. You expend energy, despair, and feel yourself sinking. But if you learn to go with the flow, you realize you can use the current to your advantage. Life doesn't want to drown you, it wants to teach you to swim. Think about the most difficult situations you've ever experienced. How many of them seemed like the end, yet turned out to be the turning point? How many losses paved the way for new paths? How many times has chaos pushed you towards something you never would have chosen on your own, but which in the end made you grow? Adversity is the language through which destiny awakens those who were asleep. It forces the mind to expand, the heart to mature, and the spirit to strengthen. Seneca said that fire tests gold, just as adversity tests a man. And it's true. Suffering reveals what you truly are. Joy disguises, but pain reveals. When everything is going well, it's easy to appear virtuous. It's difficult to remain calm when everything falls apart. It's at this moment that character is tested, and the Stoic, even wounded, does not give in. He transforms the blow into a lesson, the burden into training, and the pain into wisdom. Greatness lies not in avoiding suffering, but in giving it meaning. While most seek to escape pain, the wise use it as a tool. They understand that every difficulty is an invitation to inner self-improvement. The body may be tired, the mind overwhelmed, but the soul, when guided by reason, remains steadfast. Because pain, when accepted with purpose, purifies. It removes excess, pride, and illusions. It leaves you simpler, truer, and stronger. Marcus Aurelius, amid the plague ravaging Rome, wrote, "Everything that happens is bearable and natural." He saw chaos, but he also saw meaning. He understood that fate doesn't punish, it only teaches. And this teaching is liberating. When you stop seeing life as something you owe and start seeing it as a wise teacher, everything changes. Anger dissolves, impatience calms, and humility is born. You understand that you are not a victim of the universe, but a part of it. Suffering is not the enemy, it's the messenger. It comes to show where there's still attachment, where there's still fear, where there's still resistance. Every time you embrace pain instead of denying it, it loses its power over you. Every time you transform loss into purpose, you grow a little more, and there comes a point where life no longer scares you, because you've learned to talk to it, even when you speak through difficulty. No fate is cruel to those who turn adversity into a lesson, because those who learn from suffering transform fate into an ally. They are not dragged along by life, they walk alongside it. They do not complain about the burden. They use it as training. They do not curse the storm. They learn to dance in the rain. This is Stoic wisdom in its purest form, accepting what is, acting with what you have, and finding peace even in the midst of pain. So when the next obstacle arises, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. No fate is cruel to those who make adversity a lesson. Breathe, observe, and ask yourself, what does this want to teach me? Because what hurts today, tomorrow could be exactly what makes you invincible. But there is something important to understand. If you have been trying for a long time to get out of your comfort zone and learn more, but you still haven't managed to do so, there may be something you are not aware of. I know what it could be. It is anxiety. Anxiety is like a snake that comes silently and affects you without you realizing it. It makes you feel bad for days, months, and even years. Living like this is like being sick all the time, but I know a solution. The Stoic philosophers, together with modern psychology, have a way to help you get rid of this. I myself managed to cure myself of this anxiety. I made a video explaining how you can get rid of this evil, and it is in the first comment. Click on the link in the first comment and start curing yourself of this feeling of anxiety. Quote 12. True philosophy involves progress. Seneca. Many people spend years thinking they're truly living, but deep down, they're just repeating the same habits every day. The danger of this is that doing everything the same way gives a false sense of progress. But time alone doesn't make anyone grow. What makes you evolve is how much you awaken within. For the Stoics, growing has nothing to do with accumulating things, but rather with becoming a better person, being more attentive, wiser, more present, and more faithful to what you believe. And this only happens when you have the courage to see what's still missing within yourself. Seneca was clear. No one improves if they don't recognize their own mistakes. And admitting this is an act of courage, because it's much easier to blame others than to look in the mirror and say, I still don't know how to handle this. I need to change here. True progress begins when you stop waiting for the world to change and decide to change what's inside you. It's like tuning a musical instrument. If you don't listen to the sound coming out, you'll never know what needs adjusting. This is what self-knowledge is, paying attention to what you're emitting, your actions, your words, your thoughts. The problem is that many people run away from this discomfort and prefer to believe that everything is already fine, that there's nothing more to learn. But the Stoic understands that life doesn't stand still. Either you grow or you start to fall behind. This isn't a demand. It's an invitation to live with purpose. To make each day a chance to improve a little, not just survive. Because wisdom isn't about repeating pretty phrases, it's about turning those ideas into action, about practicing, about adjusting your path, about having the humility to change your mind and the courage to rebuild yourself. Being wise is becoming someone who is firm, fair in your decisions, calm in the face of problems, and true to yourself, even when no one is looking. That's where true philosophy lies, not in what you say, but in what you do. Quote 13. Don't panic when you look at the big picture of your entire life. Don't think about the problems you've faced or those you still have to face. But ask yourself, as each problem arises, what's so unbearable or unmanageable about it? Your answer will shame you. Marcus Aurelius. Most crises don't knock us down for their true nature, but for the magnitude we give them in our minds. When we start imagining everything that could go wrong, or carrying the weight of everything that has already gone wrong, we end up being overwhelmed by thoughts that don't fit in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius taught a simple and powerful practice. Stop and look at the present moment. Don't think about everything you still need to resolve. Don't bring back what's already happened. Just ask yourself, what's happening right now? What right here, right now is truly unbearable? This question breaks through fear, because despair grows when you mix everything together, the past, the present, and what might never happen. When you focus on what's right in front of you, what seemed impossible often turns out to be just difficult, and you can face the difficult. It's like climbing a mountain. If you only look at the top, you get discouraged. But if you focus only on the next step, you keep moving forward. and step by step what seemed too far away ends up becoming an achievement. This is the Stoic secret, overcoming one moment at a time, not because problems disappear, but because you stop suffering over what hasn't even happened yet. You learn to act in the only place where change truly happens, the now. Anxiety and panic thrive on the idea that you need to solve everything at once and quickly, but this isn't natural. Even though they were disciplined, the Stoics knew that today's effort is what prepares tomorrow's relief. So when your mind starts racing, stop, take a deep breath, and ask, as Marcus Aurelius did, what's so uncontrollable here? This simple question can restore your balance, because most of the time the problem isn't as big as it seems. It's the fear you've allowed to grow too big. Quote 14, "Nothing really belongs to you except how you choose to react." Epictetus. Epictetus used to say that freedom begins when you understand what is and isn't under your control. This phrase seems simple, but it's one of the most profound pillars of Stoicism, because if you look closely, almost everything that causes you suffering comes from trying to control what was never yours. You want people to act a certain way, the world to understand you, destiny to follow your path. But life, indifferent to your expectations, continues to follow its own course. And it's in this clash between desire and reality that suffering arises. Nothing truly belongs to you. This is one of the most liberating truths, and also one of the hardest to accept. The past, the future, the behavior of others, and even the course of events don't belong to you. You can influence, desire, and strive, but ultimately, the only territory truly yours is that of consciousness. It is there in the invisible space between what happens and what you feel that your true possession lies, the choice of how to react. Epictetus lost his physical freedom. He was enslaved at a young age, but he found a much more powerful freedom, an inner one. He understood that even when the world takes everything away, there remains something no one can take: mastery over one's own mind. And this is precisely what makes him one of humanity's greatest teachers. He proved that freedom is not a place, it is a state of mind. When you begin to realize this, the game changes. Situations that once destroyed you become mere tests. Words that once offended you become distant noises. Losses that once seemed like the end become only part of the journey. You understand that reacting with anger, fear, or despair doesn't change what happened. It only prolongs the pain. But reacting with calm, presence, and acceptance transforms any situation into a learning experience. The truth is, life will test you. It will take things away from you, thwart plans, and bring difficult people into your path. And in each of these moments, you will have the same choice: react as a victim or as the author of your own story. The victim asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The author asks, "What can I learn from this?" The victim fights against reality. The author works with it. Seneca said that life is not short, we are the ones who waste it. And one of the most common ways to waste life is to react without awareness, too much energy on what cannot be changed. Think about how many hours you've wasted dwelling on something that wasn't in your control. A message that didn't come, an answer that didn't please, a result that didn't work. While your mind exhausts itself trying to correct what's outside, it fails to act on what's inside. Mastering your reaction isn't about repressing what you feel. It's about feeling consciously. It's about allowing the emotion to emerge, but not letting it dominate. It's about taking a deep breath before acting. It's about observing your own impulse and asking, does this come from clarity or anger? This pause, this small space between stimulus and action, is where freedom resides. It's the point at which you stop being a hostage to emotion and become the master of your own behavior. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Understand this and you will find strength." It's the same teaching as Epictetus, echoing centuries later. What belongs to you is your response, not the event. The event is neutral. You are the one who gives it meaning. The wise mind does not deny pain, but uses it as raw material. Imagine a storm. The fool tries to fight the rain, gets angry at the wind, and curses the sky. The wise man seeks shelter, takes a deep breath and waits for it to pass. He understands that the rain didn't come to punish him, but to clear the air. So too are difficulties, inevitable but necessary, and how you face them determines whether they strengthen or erode you. Nothing belongs to you, but that's not a loss. It's a relief. Because by letting go of what you can't control, you rediscover power over what you can. Your presence, your action, your serenity. This is how true self-control is born, not from denial of the world, but from the clear-headed acceptance that the world will follow its course with or without your will. Wisdom lies in using energy intelligently. Spend less time reacting and more time understanding. Spend less energy trying to control others and more energy taking care of yourself. Everything that doesn't depend on you is scenery. You are the actor. And the Stoic understands that, even without writing the script, he can choose how to act. So the next time something gets out of your control, and it will, remember Epictetus: what belongs to you is not what happens, but what you do with what happens. This is the only possession that is never lost. Everything else is on loan from life. Quote 15. Faced with every challenge, remember the resources you already have within you to deal with it. Epictetus. Sometimes everything that happens is just a sudden, but what comes next is pure despair. People feel like did not have enough strength to deal with it, as if it were too small, too weak, or unable to bear. But Epictetus reminds us, before giving up, look inside. You've weathered other storms before. Have you fell, cried, lost, and started again, and yet is still here? Maybe today you are more mature, more sensitive, more aware, but the fact is that remain standing. The truth is that we forget your own strength. Each new challenge seems like the first, and soon the doubt arises. Can I do it? But the real question would be, how many times have I done it? Epictetus teaches that life never asks for something you don't have within yourself. Courage, patience, clarity, discipline. Sometimes these gifts are asleep or forgotten, but are still there. It just is to remember. It just is to use. It's like someone in the middle of the darkness forget you have a flashlight in your pocket. The path seems impossible until you decide to search for. When you turn on the light, you realize that you didn't need to be so scared. Learning to look within is like building an emotional toolbox. When a problem arises, ask yourself, what can I use now? Patience, calm, focus. The answer always exists, but it only appears when you stop looking outside and start looking within yourself. A Stoic practice, that's exactly it. A training to remember who you are when the world tries to make you forget. A workout for us what you already have, instead of waiting for something that might never come. And when this attitude turns a custom, something rare begins to be born. Tranquility amidst chaos. Not because life got easy, but because you learned to remain whole even when everything shakes. Epictetus invites us to exchange poor me for thank goodness I have this in me. And when you make that switch, even for a second, something inside you changes. A silent confidence which does not depend on the circumstances, but that sustains the spirit. Because, as Epictetus said, luck is the meeting between preparation and opportunity. And if you are strong inside, you will get it, transform even the worst moment into fertile ground for growth. Quote 16. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses for what is said about you, but reply, he was ignorant of my other faults, otherwise he would not have mentioned only these. Epictetus. Hearing that someone spoke badly of you can make anyone angry. After all, we all want to be respected, accepted, and even admired. It's almost natural to want people to see us in a positive light. That's why, when someone criticizes us, our first reaction is usually defend ourselves. We want proof that we are not what they said. Respond appropriately, win the argument, even if that steals our peace and sometimes even our dignity. But Epictetus teaches another way, that of emotional maturity. Instead of despairing, trying to protect one's own image, he suggests that we act lightly, maybe even with a touch of humor. Because who really do you know who it is? No need to fight to assert oneself. Getting to that point, however, requires deep inner work. It is necessary. Understand that the true value does not depend on the opinion of others. It is not the reflection of someone else's gaze, but rather from the way you see yourself and the way you take care of your essence. The opinions of others may make noise, but that does not make it true. Think of a 100 Rs note. If it is wrinkled, dirty, or even torn, remains the same. It's the same with us. No criticism can reduce the value of those you know inside out. What defines you? It's not what they say about you, but how much you evolve as a person, as a mind, as a human being. Today, many people measure growth just for the money, as if success were only have a full account. They forget that without balance in other parts of life, everything it gets crooked. The emptiness grows, the mind tires, and nothing seems to satisfy. You may have a strong spirituality, but if you can't support yourself or relate, ends up dependent. And it may have a lot of money, but live with one void that nothing fills. True growth is that which maintain your peace, your clarity, and your inner freedom. When you decide grow completely, the criticisms lose weight. You become firmer, calmer, lighter, not out of pride, but out of lucidity, because you understand that your energy is too valuable to be spent on useless discussions. Your emotional life improvement when you choose focus on what builds and not in what destroys you. When you learn to feed good thoughts, overcome bad patterns, and align your mind with your progress, you empower yourself, not to silence others, but to take away the power their words had over you. If this touches you, write and declare, "My focus is on what builds." And the next time something bothers you, remember this phrase. She will be your balance point, the reminder that whoever takes care of their own mind takes care of their own peace. Quote 17. Greatness is not in conquering others, but in conquering yourself every day. Marcus Aurelius. We live in a time where comparison has become an automatic reflex. With every swipe of the screen, the mind measures itself against someone else, in body, in success, in appearance, in life. And little by little, the gaze turns outward and becomes lost. But Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor of the greatest empire in the world, understood a truth few can live by. True victory is never over others. It is over oneself. Because defeating others gives you power for a moment, defeating yourself gives you freedom forever. Inner greatness isn't born from competition, it's born from overcoming. Every day you wake up facing the same adversary: fear, laziness, doubt, discouragement, pride. This is the invisible battlefield where the course of your life is decided. It's easy to point out what's lacking in others. It's difficult to look within and face what still needs healing, adjustment, and transformation. That's where true heroism lies, in the quiet courage to rebuild yourself a little each day. Seneca said that no one is more unhappy than he who has never faced himself, because as long as you run away from your own limits, you live chained to the same weaknesses. What imprisons you is not the world, but your resistance to evolution. Marcus Aurelius understood that the noblest struggle is the one that takes place within your own mind, between what you are and what you know you can be. Every negative thought conquered is a victory. Every controlled impulse is a step forward. Every time you choose what is right over what is easy, you win an invisible battle that few have the courage to wage. The world values those who win quickly, who arrive first, who shine the brightest. But Stoic philosophy teaches that true brilliance is that of constancy, the kind that never dims even on the darkest nights. Conquering yourself means having discipline when no one is looking. It means keeping your word when exhaustion sets in. It means resisting the urge to give up, even when the road seems long. It means enduring your own emotions without becoming a slave to them. This is the victory that time respects, because it doesn't depend on applause. Epictetus said that a free man is one who masters himself. And mastering oneself doesn't mean repressing, but understanding. It means recognizing your shadows and choosing to act consciously, not impulsively. It means transforming anger into energy, fear into prudence, pain into wisdom. A wise mind doesn't shy away from inner conflict. It transforms it into strength. Victory over others may inflate the ego, but victory over oneself awakens the soul. Because when you defeat someone, the triumph is temporary. But when you conquer your own chaos, you achieve something permanent, peace. And peace, as Seneca taught, is the highest good a human being can achieve. Think about how many times you've sabotaged yourself, how many promises you've made to yourself and not kept, how many times you've started something full of energy and given up halfway through. Each of these situations is an invisible defeat, and it's precisely on them that you should focus your attention. Not because you need to blame yourself, but because that's the path to evolution. Every day you deliver on your promises, even in small ways, you become stronger. This is how character is built, not in grand gestures, but in small daily victories. Stoicism doesn't preach coldness, but firmness. It doesn't ask you to be an emotionless marble, but to learn to channel your emotions wisely. Those who conquer themselves daily are not those who don't feel fear, but those who move forward despite it. Courage, after all, is not the absence of fear, but mastery over it. Marcus Aurelius lived amidst wars, intrigues, and betrayals, yet he kept his gaze inward. He knew that the most difficult empire to govern was one's own heart. Greatness lies in the mind that, even surrounded by chaos, chooses calm. In the man who, even when wounded, decides not to hurt. In the woman who, even when tired, still acts with kindness. These are silent but profound victories, and they are what, in the end, build the kind of strength that time cannot erode. Overcoming yourself is an act of humility and discipline. It's recognizing that there are parts of you that still need to be cultivated: pride, haste, vanity, self-sabotage. And instead of running away from them, it's facing them head-on, like someone training their mind to serve reason, not impulse. The inner warrior doesn't shout, doesn't display medals. They simply live in peace with you, knowing that the fight was never against the world, but against their own imbalance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The greatest victory is to remain true to one's own nature without being dragged along by others." And perhaps this is the purest definition of greatness, not letting the world harden you, nor pain make you bitter, remaining whole, even in the midst of the storm. So every morning, before you try to conquer the world, ask yourself, what do I need to overcome in myself today? Maybe it's procrastination, irritation, or doubt, and when you overcome even a little, celebrate in silence. Because it is in this silence that true glory is born, that of being better than you were yesterday. This is the victory Marcus Aurelius would call noble, the conquest of oneself. Quote 18, "Master your mind, master your life." Epictetus. While you're not learning to guide your own mind, she will be guided by everything around you. News, opinions, fears, expectations, comparisons, they all start to control you. You wake up already reacting, runs all day, turning off problems, and the night ends tired, with the feeling that he has lived a lot, but nothing that really made sense. Epictetus warns us, either you take the helm of your mind, or will it be carried by the tide of situations? And the worst part is that whoever sets the pace out there doesn't always want your best. The world pulls you out of yourself, the fills with distractions, the consumes from within, and if you are not awake and attentive, ends up living in automatic mode, always running, always busy, but with the soul off. Master the mind does not mean controlling every thought, and yes, know which thoughts deserve your attention. It is having the courage to say, this fear is not mine. This comparison does not serve me. This thought does not need to become true. When you start practicing this, you realize that there is a space between what happens and what you feel, and it is in this space who lives at freedom. That's where you can breathe, think, and choose. It is at this point that the self-control, a tranquility and twinner clarity. And the best part, you don't need a big moment to start. It could be something simple, when someone provokes you and you decide not to respond angrily, when something goes wrong and you, instead of blaming yourself or the world, look at the situation calmly, or when the anxiety appears and you, instead of running away, observe, accept, and breathe. Every time you do this, you strengthens the mind, like training a muscle. Over time, you become less reactive, less impulsive, and much firmer. Epictetus said that the true freedom born when you focus only on what is under your control, because when you dedicate yourself to what can change, your energy is well used. But when you worry about what can't control, you wears out, and nothing gets better. Mastering the mind is stop wasting energy on what is external and start investing in how you think, feel, and react. When this change happens, no matter the noise outside, why inside you everything calms down. Your life really changes when you understand that it's not a hostage to your thoughts. You are the owner of the house. And yes, you can decide who comes in, who leaves, and who no longer has a place in there. Quote 19. A quiet soul sees far. A restless mind sees only noise. Cleanthes. Cleanthes, Zeno's successor in the Stoic school, understood something that modern science would only confirm centuries later. An agitated mind doesn't think, it reacts. And a mind in reaction is blind. It sees only the moment, the discomfort, the noise. But when the soul is at peace, the horizon opens. Clarity replaces confusion. Calm reveals what the noise hid. Tranquility is not just an emotional state, it is a higher form of perception. We live in an age where everything screams. The world is a succession of stimuli, notifications, demands, comparisons, urgencies. People confuse movement with progress, noise with relevance, haste with purpose. And in this whirlwind, deep thought disappears. The mind becomes fragmented, jumping from one concern to another, unable to maintain a line of clarity. Cleanthes would say, "It's not life that's confused, it's your vision that's clouded." Agitation is the symptom of a soul that has lost its bearings. And the more it tries to solve things in a hurry, the more it gets lost within its own labyrinth. Calm, on the other hand, is not slowness, it is lucidity. It is the ability to see what is really happening, not just what appears to be. While the anxious react to the moment, the wise perceive the context. While the impatient struggle against what is, the calm seek to understand what the moment demands. Seneca said that no wind is favorable to those who do not know where they are going. An agitated mind is precisely the one that loses its way. It rushes, talks, decides, but without clarity. It is guided by the fear of falling behind, not by the wisdom of following what is right. A calm soul, on the other hand, acts at the right time, speaks when necessary, and observes silence when it is more powerful than any words. This serenity is what transforms confusion into direction. Inner tranquility is like a calm lake. It reflects the sky perfectly. But if the water is turbulent, everything becomes distorted, even light itself. Such is the human mind. When thoughts are restless, reality becomes scrambled. Small problems seem gigantic, other people's opinions become threats, and peace seems impossible. But when the spirit is still, the waters become clear. What once seemed like chaos reveals itself to be merely the natural movement of life. Cleanthes, like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius after him, believed that true vision arises from self-control. The mind that masters its emotions sees beyond appearances. The one dominated by them loses itself in the shadows. This is why the Stoics placed such great importance on silence and pause. Not the silence of omission, but the silence of presence, that moment when you stop to listen to your own thoughts before acting. The agitated mind lives in survival mode. It reacts to fear, haste, and comparison. It's always expecting the worst, trying to predict the unforeseeable. It seeks control but reaps exhaustion. The calm mind, on the other hand, understands that life doesn't need to be controlled, just understood. It trusts in time, in the natural order, in its own ability to deal with whatever comes. And this trust, silent and firm, is what allows it to see far. Epictetus taught that it is not things that disturb us, but the opinions we hold about them. A serene soul does not allow opinion to become tyranny. It observes facts without dramatizing, errors without condemning, fear without running away. It does not flee from discomfort. It lives through it. Because it knows that discomfort, when observed calmly, always brings a lesson. What destroys is not the weight of life, but the agitated way in which we carry it. Calm, therefore, is not an escape from the world. It is a way of being in it with wisdom. It is looking at the same scenario everyone else sees, but seeing what few see. It is not getting carried away by the collective tumult, but keeping your gaze fixed on what truly matters. A calm soul is like an archer who breathes before releasing the arrow, because they know that haste misses the target, but precision is born of stillness. In Stoic philosophy, this serenity is the result of discipline. It comes from small practices: waking up with intention, observing one's thoughts, resisting the urge to react to everything. It's the practice of mastering the impulse to respond immediately and learning to pause, even for a second. This pause is the space where wisdom enters. It's the interval between instinct and decision. It's the moment when reason takes over from emotion. Marcus Aurelius said that a calm mind is the refuge of those who have understood the world. This phrase echoes the same principle as Cleanthes. The more peace you have within you, the clearer the path becomes, and the more noise you cultivate, the more blind you become to the obvious. Inner peace is not a reward for those who isolate themselves. It is a skill acquired by living amidst chaos, but without letting chaos in. Agitation is the enemy of clarity. Therefore, the wise man does not rush. He does not confuse urgency with importance. He knows that the right time is not the quickest, but the most conscious. When you learn to wait calmly, what is yours arrives, and arrives at the exact moment. Anxiety makes you push the river. Tranquility teaches you to row with it. Cleanthes wasn't talking about an unattainable ideal. He was talking about training, a training in presence, observation, and faith in reason. He knew that a serene soul isn't one that lives without problems, but one that has learned to remain stable even when the world shakes. This stability is true power, and it is from it that the profound vision that sees beyond the noise is born. So when the noise of life surrounds you, the urgencies, the opinions, the fears, stop, breathe, come back to your center, and remember the words of Cleanthes. A calm soul sees far. An agitated mind sees only noise. What confuses you is not the world. It is the noise within it. And what frees you is not escaping the noise, but learning to listen to the silence that exists behind everything. Quote 20. If at any time in your life you must find something better than justice, wisdom, self-control, and courage, it must be something truly extraordinary. Marcus Aurelius. Everyone says they want to live a good life, but what does living well really mean? For Marcus Aurelius, the answer was simple. Living well is living virtuously. It's letting your actions be guided by what strengthens your character, not just by what brings you pleasure or momentary comfort. Justice, wisdom, courage, and self-control aren't just pretty words to repeat. They're practical tools that, when put into action, completely change the way you think, choose, live, and face life's challenges. Wisdom helps you see what truly matters. Courage gives you the strength to move forward, even when fear tries to stop you. Justice guides you in decisions that involve others, and moderation protects you from excess. That kind of quick pleasure that feels good at the time, but later exacts a high price. These virtues work like cogs in the same mechanism. One supports the other. And when you live by them, even the most difficult phases become bearable, because you feel you're on the right path, even when it requires effort and patience. Being wise, in the Stoic view, doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means thinking before acting, learning from failures and knowing how to separate what's in your control from what isn't. Being courageous isn't living without fear, but acting despite it. It's speaking out when you'd previously been silent. It's standing up for what you believe, even when it would be easier to pretend you didn't see it. It's continuing to walk without guarantees, with a clear conscience for doing what's right. Being fair means remembering that others feel the same way. They also experience pain and deserve respect, even if they think differently than you. It means not taking advantage just because you can. It means not pushing others down just to get ahead faster. And being moderate means living mindfully. It means not eating on impulse, not spending out of anxiety, not seeking empty pleasure. It means understanding that too much of anything, even what seems good, can distance you from who you truly are. Marcus Aurelius invites us to look within and ask, what am I cultivating? Who am I becoming? Because ultimately, the most important question isn't what you've achieved, but who you've become. And if the answer is someone wiser, braver, more just and more balanced, then you're on the right path, even if no one notices, even if no one applauds. Those who live virtuously already carry their own reward within. Self-control is the foundation of all progress. And if this thought inspired you in any way, share it with someone. Because the more people learn to live consciously, the lighter the world becomes.